Hello everyone, this is a story of the Forbidden City, the largest palace in the world. First, I must share with you that for some stories, I have to consult foreign sources. However, some of those stories are actually re-explorations of Vietnamese sources. You can see how these sources are cited in the comments section, where I'll pin them. Let's begin this story right now. The Forbidden City is the largest palace in the world, and in the following sections, I will reveal other interesting facts related to it. For instance, whether movies were actually filmed here, and of course the story of a talented Vietnamese architect, the chief architect of the Forbidden City. First, it must be affirmed that the Forbidden City was the residence of Chinese emperors. Over time, this place ceased to be the exclusive domain of the royal family and became a structure of great historical significance to China. It is also one of the most completely preserved royal palaces in the world. It serves as both a historical and cultural monument and a popular tourist attraction in China. The Forbidden City was built during the Ming dynasty, around the 15th century, more than 600 years ago. To construct this massive structure, the Ming dynasty mobilized over 230,000 artisans and millions of other workers, as well as conscripted soldiers. Among them were workers and soldiers from Vietnam. The Forbidden City covers an area of 720,000 square meters, twice the size of the Vatican and 3 times the size of the Kremlin in Moscow. Therefore, UNESCO declared it the best preserved collection of wooden structures in the world. Specifically, the Forbidden City is 961 meters long and 753 meters wide, measured from north to south and east to west. It is surrounded by a 10-meter high wall, totaling 3.4 kilometers in length. Around that, there are moats as wide as 52 meters. Legend has it that the Forbidden City contains 99.5 rooms. This is because the ancients believed that only the Jade Emperor deserved 10,000 rooms, but the Emperor was close to that level and deserved the aforementioned number. The Forbidden City was built over 14 years, using premium materials from China, such as Suzhou bricks, Anhui glazed tiles, Fangshan precious stones, and precious wood from the south. It was home to 24 emperors, including 14 emperors of the Ming dynasty and 10 emperors of the Qing dynasty, with the last emperor being Puyi. The story of this emperor and the film related to him will be at the end of the video, so please don't skip ahead. Most of the palace roofs are covered in yellow, the color symbolizing the Chinese court. Yellow, in the theory of the 5 elements, represents earth, the origin of all things. According to ancient beliefs, yellow was the most noble color, the color of the court and the emperor. Today, you can visit the Forbidden City, but not all of its structures are open to the public. For example, as of 2017, only 60% of the rooms in the Forbidden City were open to tourists, while 40% remained off limits. By 2018, over 80% of the rooms were open to the public. The site receives 14 million visitors annually, with a maximum of about 80,000 visitors per day. Why isn't it fully open? Because not all rooms are in a safe condition, and not all structures have been fully restored for visitors to explore. Surrounding the Forbidden City, there are many mysterious stories. For example, people whisper that the place is haunted due to an excess of negative energy, especially in the late afternoon. Moreover, over the past 600 years from the Ming to the Qing dynasty, numerous assassinations have occurred behind the walls of the Forbidden City, and everything remains a secret, relegated to the paid. The more mysterious something is, the more people speculate. Now, let's move on to some interesting facts about the Forbidden City. As the residence of the emperor and the royal family, the primary concern was security. The Forbidden City has an exceptional ability to withstand earthquakes. But first, let's talk a bit about security. For instance, the foundation of the Forbidden City is paved with stone slabs 3 meters thick to prevent intruders from entering from below. This also enhances the Forbidden City's earthquake resistance. Since its completion, according to statistics, the Forbidden City has experienced over 300 earthquakes of varying magnitudes. Among them was the devastating earthquake of the 20th century, the Tangshan earthquake in 1976. This earthquake killed over 240,000 people in just 23 seconds. The epicenter was only about 150 kilometers from the Forbidden City. Despite this, the Forbidden City remained unharmed. To find the reason, experts replicated the architectural model of the Forbidden City. They then tested it by simulating earthquakes with magnitudes up to 10.1 on the Richter scale. During these simulated quakes, the model's shaking amplitude increased and the bricks inside gradually collapsed. However, the frame of the Forbidden City remained standing. After several tests, the experts concluded that the reason lay in the pillars of the buildings, which were not buried deep in the ground. This ensured flexibility for the overall palace structure and prevented the columns from breaking suddenly. Another crucial part is the Chinese dugong architectural style. This architecture doesn't require nails or any binding agents like cement, yet it has excellent load-bearing capacity and is extremely flexible. I will address some curiosities about the Forbidden City in the next part. The first is whether the Forbidden City had toilets. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, there were no toilets inside the imperial palace. For defecation, people used chamber pots. If you've watched films featuring the character Hessian, there are some memorable scenes related to this. A chamber pot would be used with a curtain or screen for privacy. Inside, ash plants and other fragrant materials were placed. The waste from the day would be handled and transported out of the palace by eunuchs. Therefore, there was no foul odor in the Forbidden City. Today, the Forbidden City has been equipped with public restrooms for tourists. The next question is why there are no trees in the Forbidden City. There are several reasons. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, the emperor was considered the son of heaven. Therefore, nothing was allowed to be taller than the Hall of Supreme Harmony, including trees. Furthermore, the large space without any trees created a solemn atmosphere. Thus, when officials walked on the path leading into the Forbidden City, seeing the tall roofs, they would feel pressure and fear, ensuring their unwavering devotion to the emperor. Additionally, trees would attract birds and other animals, disrupting the solemnity of the court, and bird droppings could cause the glazed tiles of the Forbidden City to decay. Another reason relates to security. Not planting trees was because they could serve as hiding places for criminals and assassins. The final reason was fire prevention. As we know, the architecture of the Forbidden City is made of wood. Therefore, if trees caught fire, it could cause a widespread fire within the Forbidden City, which would be extremely dangerous. The next question is about the wells in the Forbidden City. Why wasn't the water from these wells used? And instead, water was brought in from outside. There are about 80 wells of various sizes within the Forbidden City. However, the daily water supply didn't come from these wells. Today, when you visit, you can still see many well-preserved wellheads, and there are mysterious stories surrounding them. These wells serve the purpose of firefighting because historically, the Forbidden City experienced over 100 different fires from the Ming Dynasty to the Qing Dynasty. The fact that it's still preserved intact is thanks to the water drawn from these wells within the Forbidden City. If water wasn't taken from the Forbidden City's wells, then where did the imperial family, eunuchs, and palace maids get their water? Archaeologists have discovered that most of the water used in the Forbidden City was transported from a nearby area. Another reason for not using water from within the Forbidden City was for safety. If someone poisoned one well in the Forbidden City, dozens of other wells would also be contaminated because they were connected. These wells were also connected to the Imperial River outside the city. Another question is whether there was a cold palace within the Forbidden City. In Chinese historical dramas, especially in palace intrigue dramas revolving around the stories of concubines vying for the emperor's favor, there are often scenes with lines like "banish her to the cold palace." So did a cold palace actually exist in the Forbidden City, or was it just a figment of the movies? According to historical records, the cold palace was essentially the dwelling place of concubines who had lost favor or committed unforgivable crimes. These were desolate places that few people frequented. Another opinion suggests that the cold palace did not have a fixed location. Any place where concubines, or those who did not receive affection, resided was generally referred to as the cold palace. It wasn't like a prison built in a specific location. Next, another fact about the Forbidden City. It is a gigantic museum. It's estimated that there are over 1.8 million artifacts within the Forbidden City, but each year only about 10,000 artifacts are. This means that we only get to see a very small fraction of the Forbidden City's treasures. And with such a huge amount of antiquities, we can imagine life away from home that the ancient emperor used to live. How massive is it? Perhaps it was even more extravagant than what we see in movies. There are over 31 types of treasures within the Forbidden City, categorized by type. Each category contains a vast number of items. For instance, there are over 53,000 paintings and over 75,000 pieces of calligraphy. Here, you can admire these impressive collections with historical origins. Speaking of the Forbidden City, the largest palace complex in the world, we must mention the architect Nguyen Anh. This is a story that has inspired many Vietnamese people because the architect who designed the Forbidden City was a Vietnamese architect named Nguyen Anh. His hometown was in the Ha Dong area of Hanoi. Historical documents do not clearly record the year of his birth. Architect Nguyen Anh lived during the Ho Dynasty. After the Ho Dynasty fell to the Ming invaders, the Ming army captured Ho Quy Lai and his son, along with many other talented individuals from Vietnam, and took them to China. Nguyen Anh was among them. Due to his intelligence and exceptional talent, he was highly regarded by many Ming emperors and participated in the design and repair of important architectural structures, most notably the Forbidden City. The Forbidden City is undoubtedly one of his life's masterpieces, alongside his work in water management and many other projects during the Ming Dynasty. During the period when the Forbidden City was being built, Nguyen Anh was appointed as the chief architect. Of course, he was not the only person who designed the Forbidden City, but he played the most crucial role in the construction of this magnificent structure. From conceptualizing the design and drafting the plans to training personnel and supervising the construction, he was involved in every step. Nguyen Anh certainly had a decisive voice in the construction of the Forbidden City. However, the extent of his influence is still a subject of some debate. And the final fact relates to the fact that the Forbidden City is not for filming. Many people mistakenly believe that movies about the imperial court during the Ming and Qing dynasties in China were filmed in the Forbidden City. But that is not the case. The movie The Last Emperor was the first and only movie permitted to film inside the Forbidden City. At the time of filming, it was the first time a Western film crew, with a large number of foreigners, was allowed in and out to film in various locations within the vast Forbidden City. Therefore, China had to implement very strict security measures throughout the filming process. If you have time, you should watch The Last Emperor to better understand the atmosphere of China during the period of Emperor Puyi's presence. It's a long, melancholic film imbued with history. Currently, most Chinese historical dramas that use scenes of the Forbidden City are filmed at Hengdian World Studios. Hengdian World Studios is located in Zhejiang province and has a total area of 30 square kilometers. It is divided into 9 zones, each representing different historical periods, including, of course, the Ming and Qing dynasties, with the Forbidden City that we are discussing. What's special is that all the architectural structures at Hengdian World Studios are built on a 1.1 scale, identical to the originals. Currently, Hengdian World Studios is a production site for over 1,800 television dramas and movies each year. On any given day, there are about 20 film crews working there and thousands of actors filming. In this town of Hengdian, there are over 200,000 residents, and on average, 1 in 4 people works as an extra. The rest of the population works in logistics and other services related to filmmaking. And that's the last thing I'll mention in this story. Thank you for following the story of the Forbidden City, the largest palace in the world. If you found it interesting, you can subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share. Goodbye.